Well, again, this is the finals of our regional championships here, and I can't wait another moment. We are going to go straight into game one. You'll be looking at Sean's team on the top of your screen. Again, the Xerneas, Groudon, Talonflame, Kangaskhan, Clefable, and Smeargle up against Drew's, Salamence, Kyogre, Scizor, Xerneas, Kangaskhan, and Thundurus. The way that this Groudon Xerneas team seems to work is you lead Smeargle Xerneas and then take it from there. Do you expect any change-ups based on Drew's team?
That's a good question. There are a lot of different looks you can give with this sort of team. Taking Salamence out of the team, which we normally see on that Clefable slot, it limits kind of your options a little bit. It's a popular lead with the the I'm just going to try to Geomancy turn one sort of setups.
Right.
So I'll be interested to kind of see if Sean adjusts. He's done that Smeargle Xerneas lead, I believe, every game he's been on stream. So if he's got some other tricks, this is the last chance to use them.
Yep.
If not, we'll see if Drew's going to stop it a little bit better than his previous opponents were able to.
Well, it looks like it is going to be the Xerneas Smeargle lead again from Sean up against Kangaskhan Xerneas. So double fake outs on the field and double deer on the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between the two Pokemon on the left. They share a normal type, but, Kangaskhan enjoys, long walks on the beach and knocking Pokemon out, where Smeargle trying to knock them out in a different sense with the sleep effect of Dark Void.
Yeah, Smeargle sleeps in.
Yeah, and, Follow Me also potentially a big factor here. Makes it a little bit more difficult for Kangaskhan to go for a double target, but with the quicker fake out, the advantage in turn one goes to Drew.
Well, it looks like Kangaskhan's going to go ahead and Mega Evolve right away. No sense not doing so. Fake out from Kangaskhan will go first onto Smeargle. So going to break the focus action and actually almost KO that Smeargle thanks to the parental bond. Smeargle not able to get its own fake out off after that. Geomancy from Drew's Xerneas, possibly a mirrored Geomancy over from Sean's Xerneas as well. So now you have double boosted Xerneas. Is the Kangaskhan or the Smeargle the better supporter here?
Well, I mean, Smeargle certainly has the better support options, but the threat of being able to do damage is pretty significant.
Right. Well, we are going to see the second Geomancy from Sean's Xerneas, boosting itself up to match Drew's. So you do have the Smeargle on the one side, and you do have the Kangaskhan on the other. Definitely going to be interested to see if Sean gets a good Moody boost. Special defense, not great. Loses some attack, fine. And then if that Xerneas on Sean's side can do anything while faced with the threat of Kangaskhan.
Yeah, that's the big issue here, is that while Smeargle might have better support moves, it's not actually going to have a very good opportunity to use them here, other than that Helping Hand, because it's slower and against a spread move.
Well, the Helping Hand will come out, but Kangaskhan, predicting that it's going to take a lot of damage, goes straight for the Sucker Punch into Xerneas, just trying to deal as much damage as possible. Of course, not very effective on that Xerneas. Moonblast coming out from Drew's Xerneas as well, beating the opposing Xerneas in speed and gets a special attack drop. That actually could be huge now that it's lost some of that boost. So the Dazzling Gleam coming out still picks up a KO onto Kangaskhan, but moving forward, losing that one stage of special attack could be pretty bad.
Yeah, assuming it's given another opportunity to attack.
But then Smeargle gets a speed boost. That kind of limits the Xerneas on Drew's side now, right?
A little bit, but I mean, Smeargle with 2 levels of speed is still not quicker than Xerneas with 2 levels of speed, so it's still in a pretty good position. And we do see that Scizor coming in here. And one of the things it's great at is that matchup against other Xerneas.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Smeargle can Follow Me that away, but even a Dazzling Gleam at this point should easily knock out these Xerneas on Sean's side of the field. So Pokemon disadvantage for Drew, but a big advantage in the position on the board.
Yeah, and we're seeing that Scizor tech actually being really prescient in dealing with some of these Xerneas throughout the tournament, and now putting Drew in a pretty good position to start taking the momentum back in this game.
Yeah, definitely. Scizor's not a Pokemon that's been super popular this year. Bullet Punch doesn't do quite as much as you might expect it to against his Xerneas, but certainly this one is more than weakened enough for Scizor to be able to finish it off if it's given the chance.
We'll have to see if Sean gives Drew that chance. Obviously, both players taking their time with this important game one of the finals. Follow Me from Smeargle, making sure that Scizor can't just snipe that Xerneas with a Bullet Punch. Will instead go down to the Bullet Punch itself. So now we have Drew's Xerneas up against Sean's Xerneas, and Dazzling Gleam, of course, now that there's only targeting one Pokemon, will be able to pick up the KO onto Xerneas. So now, even though, like you mentioned, Sean took an early advantage, Now, Drew has the Pokemon advantage and has that fully boosted Xerneas with another threat out on the side with of Scizor.
Yeah, but we do see two Pokemon that are capable of turning this game around, come out in the field. Even though there's no restricted Pokemon left for Sean, he does have Talonflame, which has priority attacks, and Kangaskhan with that fake out. So even though Xerneas is much quicker than the other Pokemon, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be able to take advantage of that speed and do damage here. Scizor also not especially effective against either of these Pokemon. Even if it has Quick Guard, which we see from some Scizor, it's going to be too slow to actually use it to stop anything in this matchup.
Yeah, you also don't like seeing Fire-type Pokemon if you're Scizor in the first place. Kangaskhan will go ahead and Mega Evolve on Sean's side, probably immediately putting out some fake-out pressure. Xerneas will protect, making sure that it protects its Glass Cannon status against these physical attackers. Fake out into the Protect. Talonflame will get the Tailwind off, though, which could be big in allowing that Kangaskhan to set up a sweep here. Scizor, though, setting up a sweep of his own with a Swords Dance, which I don't think I've seen since 2012.
Yeah, the Aaron Zeng special right there.
Yeah.
So we do get that Swords Dance up. Unfortunately, I'm not certain exactly what Scizor's going to be able to do with it. It still has to be concerned about a probable Flare Blitz from that Talonflame, the Tailwind from that Talonflame, enabling Kangaskhan now most likely to move before that Xerneas and probably knock it out here. So Drew's got to find a way to just eke out a little bit of damage and get his advantage back.
Well, it also depends on what Drew has in the back. If he can take out potentially that Kangaskhan, that could be huge for protecting whatever's in the back for Drew.
Yeah, Talonflame certainly not great at large comeback just because it does so much damage to itself.
Oh, and it's Kyogre in the back, which is really good for that Scizor. But it's switching into a potential attack from Kangaskhan, so we'll have to see if Kangaskhan went for an attack on that slot and is able to pick up a KO onto this Kyogre. But definitely protecting the Scizor, which really important since it got that Swords Dance off. So we'll have to see if Sean fell into that trap. Bullet Punch from Scizor onto Kangaskhan. Swords Dance boosted will do about 50%, and the Flare Blitz does fizzle out thanks to that Primordial Sea. The Double Edge from Kangaskhan will do a lot of damage to Kyogre and not quite pick up the KO. 6 health, and Kangaskhan dealing a lot of damage to itself, definitely putting it in range of another Bullet Punch. And Talonflame only able to use its Flying type move is now.
Yeah, I mean, the Flying type moves will be enough if it needs to try to knock out Kyogre, but not being able to finish Scizor off here is going to be a large problem. Getting into a 2v1 situation now for Drew looks like it's going to be pretty easy. Kangaskhan almost never carries Protect, so you can just kind of finish it off here. And even if you lose Talonflame or Kyogre to Talonflame in order to do that, not too big of a deal. Kyogre also can Protect since it just switched in. Really nice spot for Drew.
Also, as you mentioned, if it is just Talonflame up against 2 Pokemon, Talonflame deals so much damage to itself. That we'll have to see if it can even stick around. But the Quick Guard will protect Kangaskhan from the Bullet Punch, and Low Kick into the Kyogre will pick up that KO there. And now, finally opening up Talonflame to use that Flare Blitz again onto Scizor.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Quick Guard is the one potential variable here. We don't always see it on Talonflame, but typically if you're not using a Choice Band, that is your last move. And Quick Guard does block that Bullet Punch. I was a little bit surprised to see Scizor not go for the Bug Bite instead because it wasn't really in any danger of being knocked out. A little slip up there, I guess, but still a game that could go either way. But I think Sean is potentially taking the advantage back, but of course he can't use both Quick Guard and Flare Blitz in the same turn. So again, there's some mind games. He doesn't want his Tailwind to get stalled out. Can he knock out the Xerneas or not? Yep,
definitely has to knock out that Xerneas. And, of course, also knock out that Scizor. That's how you win the game.
Yeah, I mean, likely Xerneas to go for a Protect here. So do you want to go for the Flare Blitz, or do you want to risk your Kangaskhan being knocked out?
Well, it looks like he is going to risk the Kangaskhan being knocked out with a Bullet Punch from Drew's Scizor. Picks up that KO, and now Talonflame has to get through 2 Pokemon on Drew's side without knocking itself out. Flare Blitz will connect and pick up the KO onto Scizor pretty easily, but it will deal a lot of damage to itself, and Xerneas did not protect that turn, so we'll be able to deal some damage back. Talonflame taking a little bit under 50% of its hit points in damage. Moonblast from Xerneas onto Talonflame will connect and will deal a lot of damage and pick up the KO, and Talonflame goes down, and Drew takes game 1.
Yeah, really close game there. Nice switch toward the end of the match by Drew. Blocking that Flare Blitz with Kyogre's Primordial Sea ends up being that little bit he needed to get ahead in that series. Either of them could have won that first game. Hopefully we'll see some more like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is how Drew's been playing. He's been winning those first games and then winning those second games. It was a lot closer than some of the matches that we've seen on his side already, though. Interestingly enough, when we did the interview, Drew mentioned that he was afraid of the redirection potential on Sean's team. Not much of that came out this game. Do you bring that next time just to try and, protect your offensive threats a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's an option area. Once again, we haven't really seen Sean use his other Pokemon. I don't know if he's not comfortable doing it or if he just doesn't think it's the best matchup option for him here. We've never seen that Clefable, but that is the strange quirk of Sean's team. There's a lot more options for redirection with a second Follow Me Pokemon than we typically see with this sort of team. It'll be an interesting choice to see if he goes for it, but Scissor with that Swords Dance makes it kind of risky since Clefable and Xerneas are both weak to the same things.
Yep, definitely going to be interested. And we are going straight into Game 2. This could be the decider. If Drew wins this game, he will be our regional champion here in St. Louis. And Sean really needs a win here to stick around and try to make a comeback in Game 3. So we are going to hop right into the game right now. Both players, again, Sean will be using that Xerneas, Groudon, Clefable, Talonflame, Kangaskhan, Smeargle, up against Drew's Salamence, Kyogre, Scizor, Thundurus, Xerneas, and Kangaskhan. And again, Sean sticking with what he knows best, Smeargle and Xerneas leads up against the Kangaskhan Xerneas. Drew thought everything was fine, keeps the same leads. Sean also thought everything was fine. And considering how close that game was, they could both be right.
Yeah, I mean, that one could have easily gone either way. So both players just thinking that, okay, well, if a few things go my way or I make, a read or two better than I did the first game, I'm probably fine with the same sort of strategy.
Well, we're going to go right into the action. Kangaskhan Mega Evolving again. We'll see if we have that Fake Out Wars once more. Kangaskhan Mega Evolving and faking out onto that Smeargle just like Game 1. Again, it deals so much damage to Smeargle and breaks the Focus Sash. Smeargle, of course, flinching, and both Xerneas here to Geomancy. So basically a mirror of what we saw the first game, most likely, unless Sean's decided to take a very aggressive posture with that Xerneas. So both Xerneas here boosting up, and you have to wonder, are we just going to see a repeat of Game 1, like we mentioned, and just making a couple of new guesses or new reads, or do you think that there's a better way to play those first couple of turns?
I mean, there could be. I mean, I think one thing that I would change on Sean's side, if I don't like this lead matchup for him. Not only does he have the speed disadvantage between Kangaskhan and Smeargle, but his Xerneas has also proven that it is slower than the Xerneas on the other side. Being able to do that damage is nice in some other matchups, but always moving second here is a big detriment because you're going to do, you're not going to gain so much damage by being slower or so much bulk by being slower that you change the number of hits you need to knock out another Xerneas.
Right.
Because of that, this is just there's really no advantage that Sean is getting here. So he's probably going to be in a similar position to last game where you have to find a way to get Tailwind up to gain that speed advantage. And losing Pokemon to get to that spot is really tough to recover from in a format where things do as much damage as they do in this format.
Definitely true. Smeargle, of course, not getting a good Moody boost there. Gets the accuracy, which is great, but loses evasiveness. And that Smeargle we've seen is a tricky Pokemon to hit. So losing that evasiveness is really good for Drew. Most likely, probably going to see the same play here to Helping Hand from that Smeargle onto the Xerneas. And it looks like Drew is predicting that, switching out Kangaskhan for Scizor to try and tank a resisted hit there. Instead, Smeargle is going to use Follow Me, actually, not going to boost the attack of that Xerneas, and instead get punished with a Dazzling Gleam from Drew's Xerneas, which should pick up the KO on Smeargle and deal a good amount of damage, all things considered, to the opposing Xerneas. So Xerneas is going to still use the Moonblast, though, just not boosted with Helping Hand, which Scizor is way happier to not have the Helping Hand boost, because it looks like that may have been a KO there as well.
Yeah, that was
that's scary.
Yeah, a lot of damage. And one thing that we didn't see in the last game that you would kind of expect to see, though, we're a Pokemon away from not seeing it once again. Typically, when you see Scizor, one of the reasons it's not very popular this year, it's a big guy. He's on the cover of some video. Oh, Groudon, which we haven't seen. I think important in this matchup. Surprised not to see it.
All right, well, Talonflame is the option from Sean, using that Brave Bird to make sure that it's dealing damage to Xerneas. Deals a good amount of damage, but now Scizor, left alone, could get off a Bullet Punch as well onto the opposing Xerneas. Bullet Punch will come out and deal some good damage. Not quite enough, but maybe enough. It's going to be close if it's in with Dazzling Gleam, but going for the Moonblast instead onto Talonflame, actually trying to get that bird off the field before it can set up Tailwind. Of course, going for the offensive move there, does not get the support for Xerneas here. Dazzling Gleam comes out, may be able to pick up the KO onto Scizor. It does pick up the KO onto Scizor. I didn't quite catch if it caught it on Xerneas as well. So double KO there from Sean Xerneas.
And suddenly Sean is looking like he's in pretty good position. He knocks out Scissor with the Pokemon that Scissor is supposed to counter.
Yeah.
And, you know, the slightly bulkier Xerneas spread, or at least the slightly slower Xerneas spread, ends up paying out there. He does a little bit more damage in that trade back and forth, and enables him to just barely pick up a knockout in a situation where, you know, it's able to hang out with a somewhat comfortable amount of health.
And we are going to end this game with competing Kangaskhan and competing restricted Pokemon. Kangaskhan back out for Drew and out for the first time for Sean. So Sean, again, not bringing the Groudon, only bringing those support Pokemon for Xerneas, putting all of his eggs in the Xerneas basket here. Really may depend on the Kangaskhan matchup here.
Yeah, well, one thing that hurts that is that one Kangaskhan's already Mega Evolved. When you Mega Evolve, you don't gain the increase in speed if you gain speed when you Mega Evolve until the next turn. The turn order is decided as soon as the moves are entered. So the Kangaskhan on Drew's side will move first. That could allow him to get a Fake Out off on the opposing Kangaskhan, or just go for a knockout instead.
All right, well, Sean is going to try and fix that with a Mega Evolution of his own, hoping that next turn he can speed that Kangaskhan up a little bit. Both Kangaskhan's looking each other down. Fake Out will come out for Drew onto the Kangaskhan, making sure that Sean's Kangaskhan is unable to make any moves this turn. Was going for a Fake Out there, flinches. Xerneas' Moonblast onto the Kangaskhan for Drew. Actually deals a lot of damage, another one-hit KO. It's really going to come down to if this Kyogre, with this Origin Pulse, oh, it can't hit the Xerneas! Xerneas avoids the Origin Pulse, and it will connect, on the other hand, with Kangaskhan, pick up the KO there. So Xerneas, you know, Smeargle lost its evasiveness, but it looks like he gave it to Xerneas.
Yeah, not the most nimble-looking creature I've ever seen, but does dodge the Origin Pulse, and that just keeps things interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if Moonblast is going to quite pick this up or not, but if it doesn't, you still have to hit an Origin Pulse again.
Yeah.
So lots of things that could happen here.
No matter what, we're flipping coins here. Xerneas with the Moonblast will connect with Kyogre. It's moving very fast. Kyogre holds on with 8 HP. Xerneas avoids the attack. Oh, no.
Xerneas just seems to want it a little bit more.
Yeah, Xerneas really wants a game 3.
Yeah, it took out a Scissor. It dodged 2 Origin Pulses. Xerneas wants to be the champion.
We're doing game 3. This isn't good enough. Smeargle took it last time. I'm doing it this time. We're going to game 3. Moonblast connects with the Kyogre. And yes, we are finally going to game 3.
Yeah, the first game Drew has lost in what feels like a very long time, but it's about halfway through Swiss yesterday.
This is only his second game that he's lost.
Yeah, and Drew, understandably, looks like he can't believe it. That was something. But you know, I mean, when you are going to make a deep run in a tournament like this, you kind of need games like Sean has had. Not necessarily where you're getting a few rolls in your favor, which you also need, but you need games where each of the Pokemon in your team are the ones that are carrying play for you. You know, we saw Smeargle make some big plays in a previous series. Now it's Xerneas that's coming out on top.
Everyone's stepping up.
Yeah, you've got to be able to win with everybody, or at least I guess most of your Pokemon. It's Sean's Clefable at this point could be a Pikachu, and there would be no difference.
Well, I mean, this is game 3 of the finals of the regional championship. The winner of this game becomes the champion. You're Drew. You just saw a game that you thought you had locked up sort of slip through your fingers. Both of these are new players. These are both players who have to learn how to keep their cool and make sure that they, that last game did not happen, right? As far as you're concerned, we're now in a best-of-1 game. So forget everything else that just happened and just go into this game with a clean slate and try not to let that worry you.
Yeah, I think if I'm both players, I probably, again, don't change my strategy up too much. I think especially if I'm Drew. I like his team composition in that match. I think if things play out in most other ways, he's going to come out on top there. Sean opted not to change after a game 1 where I thought maybe he should have. He did win this game. I'm kind of expecting in game 3 we'll see a similar composition from both players. So it'll be exciting to see what happens.
All right, well, game 3 of our regional championships here, the finals. The winner of this game will be our regional champion. We are going to hop right into it. Both of these players selecting their teams, ready to go. Oh, what a heartbreaker. But you can see Drew's got his game face back on, ready to go right back into this game.
Scary team to be in an elimination match again. At this point, too, you're really holding your breath every time you see that moody message from Smeargle, especially.
And here we go again. Kangaskhan Xerneas up against Smeargle Xerneas. Obviously, both of these players think that they were doing the right thing both games. And You know, one of them will be right.
That's true. Yeah, somebody will win this tournament. I guarantee it.
Yeah, so obviously you've played this same matchup twice now. Is there anything that's changed going from game 2 to game 3?
I don't think so. I think these guys are just going to think very hard, I guess, you know, from about turn through 4 this time, which I think, other than the origin pulse misses, were kind of what determined the previous games.
Yep, so exactly like we've seen before, fake out from Kangaskhan on Smeargle. A critical hit, actually. Smeargle actually double critical hit. Both hits critting on the Smeargle, so Smeargle will go down. Something changed. Critical hits, it was bound to happen. Geomancy from Drew Xerneas going to go ahead and power itself up. So actually, that's pretty big because Smeargle being around for that extra turn has really helped either the Xerneas on Sean's side either KO a Pokemon immediately or make life a little bit more difficult for Drew.
Yeah, you mentioned Drew wasn't a huge fan of all the redirection options on Sean's team, but Kangaskhan decided to get rid of it.
Kangaskhan is not either.
Yeah, Kangaskhan was just, you know, I'm upset that another normal type of Pokemon is getting all this attention that I normally get. I'm going to deal with this myself.
We're going back to 2015. I am the big normal type Pokemon. All right, well, Sean is actually going to send out
agrees.
He agrees. Kangaskhan's the best. We all agree. Interestingly enough, from the last time we saw this mirror, though, since Kangaskhan on Sean's side is switching in, it has exclusive fake out options here. So the Mega Kangaskhan on Drew's side will be just as vulnerable to fake out as the Xerneas. Mega Evolution coming in from Sean's Kangaskhan. Going to see who it decides to fake out. If it decides to fake out, Xerneas from Drew is going to go ahead and protect to make sure that it does not take any free damage. Fake out onto the Xerneas slot, so Kangaskhan will be around. Tried to sucker punch into the Kangaskhan, fails. Moonblast, though, will pick up the KO onto this Mega Kangaskhan, and you know, we're seeing those momentum swings go back and forth.
Yeah, normal type Pokemon are not having the greatest game of the video game championships.
They don't like fairy types.
That is true. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is not how the type chart works, but here it does. Xerneas is super effective against everything type.
Yes.
Except for Steel, which we see Scissor here. Bullet Punch is not going to be a one-hit knockout if Scissor is able to connect, but definitely the combination of a Bullet Punch and a Moonblast, potentially even a Dazzling Gleam, going to do huge amounts of damage to Xerneas. So Sean's going to have to be careful here. However, we've also seen how much damage a Moonblast can do to Kangaskhan. So there's a lot of different things that could happen here where, you know, a Pokemon on either side is knocked out. Again, another mind game where, you know, what Pokemon are going to be targeted, what do I need to sacrifice if I can't use a Protect on that Pokemon in the case of Kangaskhan.
Well, Sean's going to withdraw that Kangaskhan so he can have access to fake out a little bit later. And Clefable, for the first time, will be out going for the redirection options. Xerneas will protect itself this turn, trying not to take any Bullet Punch damage from Scizor. Good protect there. Dazzling Gleam from Drew's Xerneas will only deal damage to that Clefable. And dealing a little bit, every little bit counts on Clefable.
And so we do finally see Clefable here. You know, Bullet Punch. Pulling it away from Xerneas is definitely going to come at a cost if Clefairy needs to do that, but definitely certainly better for the support Pokemon to take the hit for the restricted Pokemon. That is what Clefable is there to do, and it would enable Xerneas to do some big damage, as well as getting Kangaskhan back out to use Fake Out another time.
Yep, well, here comes the Follow Me from Clefable. The Bullet Punch from Scizor will be redirected to that Clefable, dealing a lot of damage. Not quite a KO. Oh, and going to eat the Citrus Berry. I'll have to see if it can survive another Dazzling Gleam here, or if it went straight for the Moonblast. Dazzling Gleam from Drew Xerneas onto the enemy Xerneas and Clefable. Clefable does go down to that Dazzling Gleam, so not able to stick around for another turn. But Sean, it gets off a boosted Dazzling Gleam of his own, dealing a lot of damage to Xerneas, and not, you know, that's close to another KO on Scizor next turn. We'll have to see if it can make it happen.
Yeah, only a single hit point away from being below half of its health.
Could just be a roll.
Yeah, so Dazzling Gleam likely could go either way.
Yeah.
And, you know, Kangaskhan, again, coming back out. Could fake out that Xerneas now. That's the play you'd expect. So, again, mind games. You know, do you protect, anticipating the fake out going to that slot, or do you anticipate Kangaskhan going for a little extra damage in Scizor and not risking Dazzling Gleam failing to pick up a knockout there, which could be disastrous.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Drew, you just have to play safe here. You can't let the fake out turn this match around.
Yeah, no, I would expect a double protect here. There's really not a reason to do anything risky. You've got 2 Pokemon left on Sean's side, so this will be the last fake out you have to worry about. Xerneas very close to the point where a Bullet Punch could knock it out, but Kangaskhan also very close to getting Scissor to the point where it could use Sucker Punch before Bullet Punch and prevent that from ever happening.
Well, it looks like Sean's actually going to protect his own Xerneas here, while Drew protects Scizor and leaves his own Xerneas up, gets the Moonblast off onto Kangaskhan. No fake out there, so a clean KO onto Kangaskhan while Xerneas is protecting on Sean's side, and that seemed risky.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Sean kind of needed to make a risky play where if that game just continued conservatively, he was going to lose slowly instead.
Yeah.
Perhaps making a move that's going to cause him to lose quickly instead. He goes for the big hit on Xerneas, not able to get it.
Yeah, well, Bullet Punch from Scizor will connect with Xerneas, and Moonblast from Drew's Xerneas. Xerneas will take down Xerneas, and Drew Novak is your 2016 St. Louis Pokemon Regional Video Game Champion.